Welcome, everybody, to the CFF List Waiver Watch Draft. I'm Jay Mill, got my partner Willie B as usual, joined today by Devi Jake and Benjamin Jacob. We'll get back to those guys and a little bit more about them in just a second. But again, we're here to draft the players that we think will help you fill the biggest holes you've got in your lineups immediately for week 4. But before we do that, we've got to go through week 3's results, which overall I would say was very good by the group, but unfortunately very bad by yours truly. I'll just get that out of the way now because it's kind of like when you decide to tell your parents you screwed up on something. Should you do it now and take your punishment or let it linger? And I don't want to let it linger. Have to admit, I ended up with the second worst all-time score in waiver draft history, which we've been doing since 2022, with a 34.3 point game. I know who to blame as far as players, but I'm the one that took those players. I just don't know. I'm looking for answers here. My big misses. One, I don't think anybody can blame me for taking him. Tay Meadows from Troy just totally disappeared after 2 weeks with tons of volume. They just flipped the script over there at Troy and decided Tay Meadows was not going to be part of the game script this week, so he got me 0.7 points. The other was Andrell Anthony, who I thought through 3/4 of the game was hurt and would have rather him been hurt and got a did not play, but he ended up getting 3 or 4 targets towards the end of the game, which just means, again, another guy that totally disappeared from the game script, had scoring in the teens up until this point, and decided to put up 3.2 points. My one shining moment was Jaron Kanak from Oklahoma, the converted linebacker, who is turning out to be, a big part of the Oklahoma offense, helping them spread it out there. But then Ashton Hawkins let me down, one of Ben's guys there at Baylor. A.J. Swan just threw too many interceptions. I still believe in A.J. Swan that he'll have a good remainder of the season there. When he wasn't throwing those three picks, he was actually moving the ball quite a bit. He just couldn't get the ball into the end zone. And then, I should have really thought twice about Sam Scott, from Wyoming versus Utah. That didn't work out too well for me either. But Willie, do you have? We'll get to the others, which really redeemed the group as a whole because they did really well. But Willie, just what are your thoughts for me and my pitiful performance this week?
Well, I mean, I kind of been telling you about Andrew Anthony, so you still are on that train for some reason, but and I think
you're talking because you followed him at Oklahoma and were disappointed in the Oklahoma outcome as well.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Not to knock anyone for leaving and changing schools, but sometimes there's a reason you change schools.
Yeah.
So so like I say, I don't want to harp on any of these kids. They're doing the best that they can. So, but just I'm down on Andrew Anthony. I know you were probably listening to a little bit of Dorian the week before with Sam Scott,
right?
And then I mean you've said everything you need to say about that.
Yeah.
So look, we want to put those performances in the rear view and
I'm going to make myself feel better though, real quick. So I got 34.3. I owned the worst, which was 34 in 2023 week 7. But this makes me feel a lot better. You ready for this? The fourth worst of all time is Jared from Chasing the Natty at 43.1 in 2022. John Lobb has 3 of the top worst, which is the 6th, the 7th, and the 9th worst. So if nothing else, I will at least take my time to look at the list and know there's some really good fantasy football minds. J.D. Yankee, the 10th worst of all time in 2022. Same week. So it's a good group to be among, but unfortunately, I'm sitting there at the second worst right now.
And the one thing about that, you actually knocked Moxley out of the 10th. Yeah, so he actually had the previous 10th spot.
Yeah.
So you kind of know you knocked him off. He would have had 4, but
John had 3.
Oh, sorry, John Lobb. Sorry,
so John had 4 the previous.
Yeah, he had 4. He had 4 before.
Yeah. John,
has he only been on 4 shows?
He had to. Well, I don't know. It must have been every year, but we've talked about it. John's a great CFF player, obviously, but I'm not sure he grasped the concept of getting players that you need to perform this week.
Next week. That's been my pitfall too. This week I'm going all schedule. I'm
all
looking who they're playing.
Yes. All right. So with that though, really quickly covering the other performances, because there were some very good ones. Our guy Justice from the G5 Hive knocked it out of the park. Almost looks like a guaranteed playoff position secured by him. We will take the top 3, maybe 4 here to start around week 8 or 7, to kind of have a playoff round. 115 points by Justice, led by Jaden Barnes, the wide receiver from App State. Amazing, the receiver for AJ Swan got 29, but AJ Swan could only get me 9.
Right.
Looked like a great situation, but again, he threw too many interceptions, or I would have at least maybe got to 15 with him. But he also had Turbo Richard from BC, and both of his BC guys worked out. We talked about BC going against Stanford and that being a good matchup. Stanford actually, we must have motivated them. I'm sure if somebody tuned in and told that Stanford crew that there was a player at every single position from Boston College going against Stanford in our waiver draft. Justice picked 2 of them. Turbo Richard ended up at 24.8 points. Jeremiah Franklin ended up with 10.1. So those paid off. And then his quarterback, Cedric Bailey, 21.9. Corey Milliner from UAB, 19. His only really poor performance, quote unquote, would be Quentin Jackson from Rice, going against FCS school, and he got 10. So he still got double digits. For those tuning in, we'd like to remind you our typical goal is we want to get a quarterback that can see 20 points, running backs and receivers that can at least get you up to 15, and a tight end that can get you 10 or at least 8, because if you get a double digit tight end, you're always really happy, but kind of 8 would be the minimum we're looking for. If you add all those up, you get what would be our average almost over the entire lifetime of this, which is about 90. That seems to be the ballpark average. So Justice went way past that. Willie B, 94.2, coming in second, making up for his weaker half over here with me. Luke Altmaier, we talked about the fact he's been underrated in his last couple of seasons as a consistent fantasy player that we told you. He's not going to have a high ceiling and get in the 30s, but he's going to almost always get you somewhere around 20 points, and he got 21.8 this week. Seth McGowan was just getting after it against Eastern Michigan with 28.4, and then Skylar Bell from UConn, what we thought was much improved UConn team, took a fall against Delaware. And then, Dan Villari got him 8 at tight end, which is, again, kind of what we're looking for. The surprise there, Virginia shifted gears and found a 4th running back to carry the load there against William and Mary. Possibly just got caught up in them playing an FCS team, wanting to get another guy in the mix, see how he worked out. I know Whaley had a big game against them also. So we talked about that dilemma of P4 schools going against FCS schools, and sometimes it works, like Jonah Coleman last week with 5 touchdowns in his game. This week, it looks like they tried to give Jamari Taylor a break, and he only got 9.1. But that was your only negative there, Willie. Any thoughts on your team before then?
Yeah, yeah. I had a couple notes. Luke Altmaier, this should be his last week for him to be available. He's got nine touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yep.
Like I say, averaging 21.7.
Yeah.
Taylor, I had to take him based on his last 2 starts. This is from my notes, but happy what he did.
Yep.
He only has about 3 to 4 favorable matchups left. So you'll be taking a chance, in my opinion. Seth McGowan, his best game of the year. He's, more carries, more yards, more touchdowns. He's still only 18% rostered as of last night.
Right.
Another guy averaging 21.7.
Yep.
And then lastly, Skylar Bell. Can't find the end zone the last couple of weeks, but that's going to come. But he's got 29 targets the last 2 weeks. So, like I say, it's only a matter of time because his next 3 opponents are really soft.
Right.
So,
gotcha.
Overall, really, really happy with it. Still, Dan Villari, he's going to be hovering around that, like we were saying, I think a week ago, around 16 to 20.
Yep.
In that range. So, always good to get in the 90s and be respectable. So I'm really happy with that. So especially after last week.
Yep. And the number to beat maybe for Ben and Jacob this week is Tom Harvey, who put up a respectable 84 points. That puts him in third place among our guest pickers this year. Like I said, we haven't really decided if we'll take 3 or 4 into some kind of playoff round, but 84 would be your magic number to beat at this point. If you can get into the hundreds, you might secure yourself a spot to come back and join us again. But Tom again, he picked some good guys. Harrison Wallace over at Ole Miss. Kind of tough to hone in on who Ole Miss is going to be targeting most, but he picked one of the correct guys there. Got 21.3. Alex Teza at Navy. Again, he's been a guy coming for the last 2 seasons with some inconsistent outputs, but it looks like they're really feeding him the ball at the goal line. And while Heidenreich's the big play guy there, and Horvath can also, get some goal line carries, Teza's the guy they seem to be leaning on in that fullback position for Navy's. He got another 19.2. But the one BC guy that maybe underperformed against Stanford was his quarterback, Dan Lonergan, who had 16, which again isn't horrible. It's certainly better than the 9.3 I got from AJ Swan. But we want those quarterbacks to get 20. But again, Tom did a nice job here with 84. Don't know if it's enough to carry him into our playoffs when we get to the end here. But thanks to him and Justice, I'm sure we'll see Justice a little later. Jared, just as a reminder, had 94.9 for our week 2 picks. So again, there's another target for you guys. And Willie, as we move into the draft board, I will introduce our 2 guests. Very happy to have the return of Devi Jake, the creator of the now infamous and famous Sickos League. Jake, let us know for those who have not heard about this wonderful league that you came up with 3 years ago, kind of how that works and where the idea came from.
So the league is the Sickos League. This is our 4th season actually right now. It's our biggest field yet. We're up to 24 teams this year, which is pretty crazy. The way the league works, it's a 30-round best ball draft, but the top 250 players from ADP have been removed from the player pool. So you can't select. I think the highest rated player was Bosma, the tight end from Western Michigan, going into the start of the draft. So right. Kind of just funny seeing a draft room where that's the number one potential pick. Everyone's basically, you're already in your guy zone right off the jump. There's no relying on rankings or other things. You're just going out and getting your guys, and right. It's a lot of fun. You guys are all in this year. Jeremy, Willie, you guys, I think you said it was your 3rd year. I thought you guys have been in all 4 years, but maybe you guys missed them.
Yeah, we've been in every season for sure.
Awesome. Yep. And it's just a lot of fun. I've got some fun ideas to continue to kind of grow it and see how it can change and morph down the line. But it's my kind of passion project, and everyone kind of knows me as the Sickos draft guy, so I kind of love that as well. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no problem. You're always good, and we love your insight. And on Twitter, people will always say, like, you should follow this guy, you should follow that guy. And Jake's always been my guy that I would comment on those types of tweets. That is probably one of the best comment reactors on Twitter. He doesn't necessarily throw out a lot of his original content, but he will add some insight in the comments section of a lot of other people's tweets, and he's kind of proven his knowledge over the years doing that. And again, just by coming up with such a crazy idea of the Sickos League, deserves to be world renowned here in the CFF world.
Hey, real quick though, I will tell you, I'm pretty sure, J-Mill, I think you did this, but I believe we actually did draft from our rankings. I know I did.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So our rankings did go that deep.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
Yeah. I didn't have to go outside the rankings. There wasn't a player that we didn't have on there. That you're right. Before we started recording, I did mention that I was shocked that I got Baron Morton because he was not in the top 250 in preseason because of all the injury concerns, and if he was going to get hurt again, even though he's at Texas Tech, which just blows my mind that people were so down on Baron Morton as a college fantasy football player. But the one I'm most proud of, I mentioned as well, is Miles Davis, who's doing his thing there at Utah State. I did have him. This is a best ball, so we can't pick up guys after the season starts. So I do have my proof that I was on the Miles Davis train way before everybody else there. Um, but this is also a good transition, as I described Jake as one of the best commenters on Twitter to a lot of content that's being circulated. He might have his title taken here by our other guest, which is Benjamin Jacob, um, who is in just about every league I've ever seen advertised and posted. I'm dying to get a total here from Ben. He's again not necessarily putting out his own content, but we just know he won one of our Super Starters leagues last year. So we wanted to give back, give one of our followers a chance to get on here with us. He's proven he's got the knowledge. He's all over the place again in terms of tuning in, making sure he's informed. So we wanted to test his knowledge today and kind of have a gut feeling he could be one of those new minds in the CFF world that we feel like needs a little bit of the spotlight here. So Benjamin, give us first and foremost, how many leagues are you in? Because I feel like you might have. I just have a gut feeling it's going to be 30 plus if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. Well, if I don't include all the like off-season best balls,
No, include those because those count.
No, you have to. You have to include
Yeah,
them.
that's part of your
okay.
thickness.
Well, if you include all those, then it's probably got to be like 25,
Okay, all right.
be somewhere around there.
I've heard worse. So okay, you're not quite as much of a CFF degenerate as I thought, but you do. And if they're best balls, at least you're not killing yourself setting lineups every single week. So, but you mentioned you started a family league about 10 years ago, so you've been doing this thing quite a while, right?
Yes, I have.
How many people were in the league when you started it in 14?
There was 12 of us. There was
Okay,
12 of us, yeah.
good, respectable. All right. Anything else you'd like to add before you start? I know it's your first podcast appearance. We're glad that we could say that we're the first ones to bring you out and to the public. What do you got to say before we start this draft? Because I know you're kicking it off too.
I mean, all I have to say just first off is like, thanks for having me on, y'all. Like, I
No problem.
appreciate it. It's awesome. I like, man, it's been great, like getting to know like everybody, like in the like CFF industry, like all the content creators and everything, like over the past couple of years. So it's been a ton of fun.
All right. Well, guys like you are really the reason we do it because we want to help people, and just hearing from a handful of people to know that like they're paying attention helps us and keeps us motivated because truth be told, none of us are getting rich off of this thing yet. But hopefully that snowball is still growing and we can all figure out a way to make a little money off of this thing down the road because it's still coming. So.
I
But right
mean,
now, we just do it as a hobby and as a passion, and we know you have that, which is why you're here. All right, we've done 15 minutes of intro. We're going to try to keep this draft moving. Ben, you've got the first pick. We will have. I'll have back-to-back picks at the fourth spot, and we'll snake back, and then we'll just kind of resume, the natural order of things. When we get to the your second pick, we'll come back to Jake. So hope that all made sense. Again, we're looking for players that have the best matchups and the best potential for week 4 that are rostered under 30%. We're going to take one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, and a tight end. Who are you going to kick this thing off with, Ben?
okay, so I think I gotta go with like Ty Edwards for West Virginia.
Right.
Like that last game in the backyard brawl, I mean, Rich Rod was really running through his quarterbacks, but the main consistency at running back was Ty Edwards. I mean,
Yep.
like he's 1% owned, and with the unfortunate injury that happened to Jaheim White, he seems, at least based off of one game, he seems to have really taken a hold of that backfield.
Yep.
And he's definitely got the size to be like a Division One, like Power Four running back. And they
Yep.
play Kansas this week,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah, that's a
that
good
just
matchup.
yeah.
Kansas, again, we always talk about the fan track ranking. Looks like, running backs are doing pretty good against Kansas. They're 94th in giving up fantasy points. So he was, I'll tell you this, he was one of the 8 on my list. Actually, I think I may have only had 7 running backs on my list. So I'm hoping there's somebody you guys take that wasn't, so I can even make sure I get 2 this week. So that's a nice first pick. I would be surprised if the other guys didn't have him, ready to grab also. And a rich rod running back is a nice piece of your CFF puzzle. And like you said, unfortunately, White got hurt. He was really high on everybody's board because he's in that rich rod offense. And I'm with you. I think Ty Edwards looks like the guy that's going to now take the lead. So, all right. Jake, what do you got? Did he snipe you already?
I mean, he was on my radar for sure. I love Ty Edwards, and yeah, Jaheim White leaves a big hole. But no, my guy is Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss quarterback. Took over for Austin Simmons. I'm kind of banking on hopefully Simmons missing this next week. Otherwise, I've burned my first pick. But he came in and looked great against Arkansas. It's questionable if Simmons can even get the starting job back. Chambliss had 350 yards passing, another 60 yards on the ground, led them to a win in what was frankly one of the best games of the weekend. He's got to be at 1% rostered, if that. So yeah, I'm staking my flag here. Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah,
they do play. I said I was going to do the opposite of what I usually do, and usually I'm like looking at targets or yards per play metrics and stuff like that. Now I'm going George Costanza. I'm doing the opposite of what I would normally do, and I'm just going looking at matchups. They play Tulane this week, and they let Darren Mensah throw for 300 yards last night. Yeah. I think Chambliss will cut through them like hot butter.
All right, yeah, and I didn't see what the injury was. I had 6 different TVs going even through the night game, so I didn't have the sound on, and I didn't even realize Simmons was out for a while. But do we know what happened, what the injury is there?
Yeah, I think it was an ankle injury. They said his ankle was heavily taped before the game started. So
yeah, Jake, that you are taking a little bit of a chance if Simmons comes back, but you would think the logic would be that it's not an SEC game. They'll keep him out, try to let him heal, and get back for the deeper SEC opponents.
Chambliss looked every bit as good as Simmons ever has, in my opinion, in that game yesterday. So we'll see.
All right, good. Nice pick. A little bit different, but we are going for the matchups that can help this week and this week only. So there you go. Willie, what do you got?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and get the quarterback that I want to grab this week. And this kid, I've been really impressed with the whole team, to be honest.
Okay.
And that's going to be Nick Minicochi.
Oh yeah.
From Delaware. He's 6% rostered. They get a FIU squad this week. I've just been really impressed with the numbers he's put up. He didn't do so well against Colorado, but that was expected. But he bounced back against UConn with an impressive 34.6. He should increase that passing total. He had 4 total touchdowns, though. He had 3 on the ground yesterday. So I expect him to continue to impress and hopefully finally give me a 30-point quarterback.
Okay, nice. Yeah, no, I had him. He was on my list of quarterbacks. He's averaging 28.3 points per game. 2 of his 3 have been over 30, so you might get that. FIU's 70th in points allowed to fantasy points allowed for quarterbacks. I've got the back-to-back picks here. 2 quarterbacks have been taken. There's one that I really like, so I don't really want to take a chance that Ben's going to take one of my guys. So I will be taking my quarterback with the second pick. But I'm going to go against a guy in that same matchup that you just took, Willie. I'm going to go with Kajan Owens from Florida International on the other side of that game, going against Delaware, who's 112th in fantasy points allowed to running backs. He's averaging 21 points a game. He only had 8 versus Penn State, but this isn't Penn State that they're playing this week. He put up 34 this past week against FAU. I think he was one of the top 4 performers at running back. 19 carries, 173 yards. frankly, over the years, I hadn't seen him. I've seen his again. We talk about we don't necessarily see every player a lot, but we see their numbers, so you kind of just get a fictional idea of what a player might look like. And I'm picturing like kind of a smaller, undersized, shifty back at FIU, kind of a classic Florida guy. But I saw the kid; he's huge.
Well,
So
he's 5'11", 210. So
yeah, 210. So yeah, so he's
Big boy.
maybe not huge, but he's just bigger than I thought. I just kind
Pretty
of always
big.
had in my mind he was one of these smaller backs, but he's not. He had a little
yeah,
bit of power to him. So I like how he's progressed. He was kind of an inconsistent guy who'd be in the 20s one week and maybe 8 points the next week, but it looks like he's going to work his way through that and be a little more consistent this season. So I like him against Delaware, who doesn't seem to be very good against the run. Um, so we'll go Kajan Owens there from FIU. Quarterback, I'm going to get my guy here because I really like the matchup and I really like what he's done so far, and that's Anthony Calandria from UNLV. He's going against Miami, Ohio, who again is a team that seems like an ideal matchup. 120th against quarterbacks as far as fantasy points given up, 24.5 on the season. Hasn't had a game under 21, and he's had back-to-back 26-point games. So there you go. I'm happy to get those two out of the way. I think they will lead me in my bounce-back game this week.
all right.
So we'll now move back to you, Willie.
All right, I'm gonna go with let me get me a back here real quick, and I didn't catch that Hawaii game. Any of you guys catch that last night on how they did?
No, I didn't.
I was watching JKS for Cal versus Minnesota instead.
I got you. Well,
Like,
at any rate, I'm still going to take this back, and that's going to be Rashawn Luke,
okay.
and he is averaging 19.6. From Fresno State, is 22% rostered. He has 5 touchdowns on the ground the last 3 games. Well, also 1 through the air. So he had 7 receptions for 79 yards. So he does have some receiving ability, and Hawaii does not scare me as far as defensively. So I expect Rashawn to have a pretty decent game.
All right.
I love Rashawn Luke. He was a former 4-star recruit who transferred from the P5 down, and yeah, he's been balling out so far this season.
Talk about being able to get complete efficiency with limited touches.
Right.
I mean, my goodness, the guy hasn't had more than 12 carries a game, and yet he's still putting up tons of yardage and touchdowns.
Yeah. And who'd you say they play this week, Willie?
They have Hawaii.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was one of the mystery backfields when we started, right? With Donaldson and Luke, and I feel like somebody else was in that mix. I can't remember the third back there, but yeah, it's he's taking advantage, like Ben said. So, all right.
Jake?
Go to you, Jake, to see who you follow up your.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep. I haven't seen any of the over-unders yet, but I imagine the points for the UD FIU game will be one of the highest of the week. I'm going to also go in that vein and go with Jonathan Silver, Jonathan Silver, the running back from Delaware. He had 179 yards last week. FIU is 104th in the country at giving fantasy points to opposing running backs, and Silver already has 9 catches on the season, so can get it done in through the air as well as on the ground.
I appreciate that. If for no other reason that I could copy and paste the logo really easy there here live.
I try to keep you in mind.
Right. Make my logo cut and paste job easy. All right, Ben, you don't get to go back to back here, but it's your pick, and then we'll go back to you, Jake.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the receiver here, somebody I think we were all very, very surprised with how he did against Georgia. I gotta go with Chris Brazel, who as of last night was at 26% rostered.
Yep.
He's playing. I mean, he looks to be like the alpha for the Tennessee offense, which is something you definitely want. Um, definitely had like his best Jalen Hyatt impression. But yeah, I mean, dude's just a baller, and they play UAB this week, so hopefully he'll be able to get in, get a touchdown, get some
Yep.
yards, then be able to come out with like a good performance.
Yeah, I can't
So
imagine anyone watching this didn't also watch the Tennessee-Georgia game since it was the game of the day. But in case you missed it, 6 for 177 and 3 touchdowns. Amazing game. I mean, it was like back to back to back on his touchdowns, wasn't it? Or at least the first two were like back to back series. Just going nuts. And too bad Tennessee lost that one. I know Jared was happy at the end of that, but Tennessee always kind of coming up just a little bit short these last couple of years.
I feel like if he ever fills out his body, he's kind of seems lanky, at 6'5" and probably 200 soaking wet. But
Yeah,
he would be a monster.
yeah, yeah. Well, the other guy that needs to fill out his body actually panned out, which is Marcel Reed over at Texas A&M. By the way, I was talking all night about how tiny Marcel Reed appears to be. Just since you mentioned small players, I couldn't believe like on TV, and I can't believe he looks like a high school quarterback out there playing, but he's putting up kind of amazing, numbers for Texas
Yeah.
A&M. Sorry to get us
That was
off
a hell
track.
of a game too.
Yeah. No, the night games were amazing. All four of those late night games were crazy. All right. Yeah,
Jake?
Jake, back to you.
All right. Yeah, I'm sticking with the theme. I'm going with Kyrie Duplessis. Is it Duplessis? Yeah, Duplessis.
Yeah.
The Delaware wide receiver. Again, easy matchup versus Florida International. He's averaging about 80 yards a game so far on the year. He had 161 yards last week against UConn. Dude's just been a baller and a bright spot in the offense. And yeah, I think it's going to be a high scoring affair.
Yeah, I will say those two picks back to back there at receiver were two of my top three this week. So, not that anybody needs a cosign, but just to let everybody know, there is maybe some consensus there that both of these were pretty solid picks. I think.
should have known Duplessis would not make it back to me, but
Yeah, 2% roster guys. Like you might have a tougher time getting Brazil, but Duplessis
yeah.
seems to be available just about everywhere at 2% rostered. So look at Jake going with a 1% guy and a 2% guy so far. So, Willie, that's normally your deal. You're going to go below 5% here with your next pick.
I don't believe I am.
Okay.
I'm gonna go step out here and
Okay.
grab someone that. Yeah, I better go ahead and do this, and it's gonna be your guy.
I know who it is. As soon as you said I better go ahead and do it, you knew I was taking him next. Go ahead. I know who it is. Can I say it? Zion Booker from Tulsa.
No, no,
Oh,
no, no,
okay. Well,
no,
that's who I'm
no.
going to take then. Go ahead. Who you got?
Okay, we're gonna go and I'm gonna go ahead and grab Jaron Kinnick.
Okay.
I, he's almost like a wide receiver for them. So big game against Auburn coming up. He should be somewhat of a safety blanket. Every time Mateer needs that throw, and
Yeah.
he is 14% rostered.
Yeah. Amazingly,
And
right?
I mean, averaging 12.8. That's all you really want for a tight end. And he, getting his 6 targets a game. And let's hopefully he finds the end zone for the first time.
Yeah, we point out that if you can get a tight end getting 10 points a game without scoring touchdowns, you've got the right guy because then when he gets those touchdowns, it's going to be a bonus. He's averaging 12.8 with no touchdowns so far, but that's okay because he's getting like, 5 or 6 catches for 50 or 60 yards. So,
Actually, I think it's more like 75 to 80
yeah, his yardage.
on
Yeah.
average. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, 12.8 with no touchdowns. So imagine you got that ceiling there that's available if he just gets in the end zone once. Okay, that was my guy last week. I did have him targeted as my top tight end this week. There's a couple more out there, though. I'll stick with the one I thought you were going to take, though. The reason I thought you were going to take this guy is because we picked him up in the Kings Classic League where we did take an L thanks to Lenora Sellers' injury. I think we could have potentially at least won one if Sellers didn't get hurt early. But in that league, we picked up Zion Booker from Tulsa, who is a 2% rostered guy. He's clearly the lead target there at Tulsa. Getting he's had 9 or 10 targets in all 3 of the games, averaging 16 and a half, 19, 14, and 17 points in each of the 3, playing a really bad Oklahoma State defense. And again, I know it's a P4 versus G5, but I think as bad as Oklahoma State's looked, I don't care. And even if Oklahoma State's beating Tulsa bad, that's fine. I've got the wide receiver, and they're going to need to be throwing the ball. So Zion Booker, Tulsa as my wide receiver. So there you go. Ben, back to you.
So I'm going to go with Raritan at tight end. At least for me, it shows he's at 29% rostered. So
yep, you're legal.
So, yeah, I mean, Notre Dame always features their tight end. And he's had good games so far. Like, obviously, week 1 against Miami, he had 9 targets, 5 catches, almost 100 yards. And then this past week against A&M, 4 for 85 yards. So, he gets targeted a lot. He gets good yardage. I mean, you got to imagine those touchdowns will be coming eventually.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he was. You guys have taken my top 2. Raritan and Kanak were my top 2. But I do have 4 on my list. So, hopefully, Jake, you've got 4 also. So
I've got 1 left.
You got, this is going to be fun then. I might have to take. You shouldn't have told me that. Or maybe you'll need to take that one now.
No, I think he'll still be there.
All right. Well, it is your pick if you want to get him out of the way.
I do not. I am going to go with. I've been going back and forth on which running back to go with, but I am going to go with Dante McMillan from Eastern Michigan.
Okay.
They are playing against Louisiana, who just gave up 427 rushing yards versus Missouri last week. And Dante McMillan has averaged over 16 fantasy points a game so far this year. I like him. A good player meets a good opportunity. I like the way that this is setting up for me here.
Got that logo in there. He wasn't one of my 7, but he probably would have been the 8th. I did pass his name by, and for some reason didn't throw him on here. It probably would have been the best 8th option if I had gone all the way out to 8.
I would have almost certainly gone with 2 other guys if I wasn't going my George Costanza scheduling method. But the 427 yard, giving up to Missouri was enough for me.
Yeah.
Looking at Louisiana's defense, they've given up 8 touchdowns already.
Wow.
Averaging 226 yards given up on the ground. They're tied for 132nd in the country.
Wow. Okay.
So,
not good, Bob.
Yeah.
That's nice. Good grab there, then, Jake. I should have probably had him on my list of 7.
Oh, absolutely, you should have been.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. I don't recall what swayed me against him at 1:30 in the morning when I was making my list.
All right. So with that, I was thinking about Dante, but he was a little bit lower than the guy that I'm going to take, and that's going to be Cedric Alexander from Vandy. He's averaging 19.3 points a game, 16% rostered. He had 20 points against South Carolina. He double-digit carries. He not necessarily getting the yards that you want, but he is getting into the end zone. And so in this competition, that's what you want. So he's just got 3 receptions and 2 touchdowns receiving. So he can get it done both ways. They play Georgia State.
Yeah.
Another lowly defense there. Let's see.
10
Georgia
touchdowns
State
allowed, Tracy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 10 touchdowns allowed. They give up 200 yards on the ground, ranked 126th. So feel like Mr. Cedric is going to get it done for me.
Yeah, and I'm looking here. Three teams have given up double-digit touchdowns. Georgia State's given up 10. Eastern Michigan's given up 11. And Georgia Southern's given up 12. So we've got back-to-back running back picks of players going against two of the three teams that have given up 10-plus rushing touchdowns on the season. So not bad. I definitely had Cedric Alexander on my list. I may have him in sickos. I have to go back and look. But he's a guy that I thought was kind of being brushed under the rug a little too much this offseason. Everybody just probably thought, it's too tough of an SEC schedule. I think that he proved last night that, he's gonna be able to still produce numbers against, SEC teams.
Yeah, you have him in super starters.
Is it super starters? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So now for my pick, two tight ends taken. Jake's got one
You
left.
You better get that tight end.
I do it. My guy's I'm gonna snipe you.
I want to keep playing this. I want to keep playing the game. I want to see what Jake does later. I've got two. I'm fine with either one of them, so I'm not gonna rush and take that just yet. Interestingly, we could go that way. Let's see. Wow, my top four running backs are taken. Makes it tough. Ben's got to get one, and I've got to get one, so I could go receiver. That seems to be the least drafted. Maybe I should take a receiver here. Yeah, let's do that. I think make things interesting here. Let's get two Eastern Michigan guys in the mix. This is a guy I mentioned to Willie, kind of deep off the radar guy, when we were having our kind of off-air discussions, one of our many off-air discussions during the week last week. Terry Lockett Jr. from Eastern Michigan, 6% rostered. Louisiana they've done a lot better against the pass. My suspicion is that's only because nobody's had to pass the ball against them because they're so bad against the run. But Lockett just keeps getting better and better every week. He's had 11 points in the first week, 16, and then 18 this week. And what I really like is the last 2 weeks he's had 14 and 10 targets. So I like the double-digit targets. They may not have to throw the ball much against Louisiana, as we just discussed, but it still seems to be a decent matchup, because, Lockett is the guy that they're going to go to. So really for the same reasons that I took Zion Booker from Tulsa. He's the proven wide receiver one, and they're not playing against a stud defense there. So there it is. I'm done at receiver. You guys can have all the scraps. Go ahead, Ben.
So this kind of feels like cheating, honestly, since he was on the list last week. But he is still under the 30% rostership.
Okay.
And I feel like this will be like the absolute last week to get him with Harrison Wallace.
Oh yeah,
from Miss. I mean, it shows he's at 28% rostership right now, and like as y'all said, like last week, in the week 3 waiver wire show, like he is like pretty solidified as their like alpha in that Ole Miss wide receiver room. So
and Tulane is 123rd against the pass.
Yeah.
So that helps also.
I used to tell people to stay away from Tulane. I won't be doing that anymore. I'm not sure what's going on with that defense.
Yeah, they're giving up a lot of yards. They're 99th in passing yards allowed. They've only given up 5 touchdowns, but it seems to be on par with just about everybody else. It's not horrible, not good, but they are giving up the yardage. So Harrison Wallace was one of my top 6 this week, he's somebody I would have taken or was considering even with my last pick, and I just went with the smaller school matchup with Lockett. But he's got a great matchup for sure, and averaging 20.3. So there you have it. Jake, you're almost finished. Let's see if you'll we'll continue our tight end holdout, or if you'll grab your one guy you had left.
I'm going to continue the holdout. I'm still torn between two wide receivers. All right, I'll go with the hold on. Let me check one. Okay, I'm going to go with my boy. I'm probably butchering his name here, but Cooper Barkate from Duke. He's a FCS to P5 transfer. He had a hell of a season last year in FCS, and he's come out this year averaging a hair under 9 targets a game, over 10 yards or over 10 fantasy points a contest. And they play NC State, who are 123rd against wide receivers for fantasy points. He is only 5% rostered, and he is going to take me to the promised land.
Yeah. Do you what were his targets last week? Because is this why I should be?
He had 10 targets last week.
So he's the reason I should be upset that Andrell Anthony did not produce last week on my waiver watch list.
Exactly. The Anthony dream is dead. It's Barkade's season.
All right. Yeah, this is the guy.
He's averaging about 8.5 targets a game. So
yeah,
that's no surprise about Andrell.
More reliable than the mistake I made with Andrell Anthony, who maybe was just getting lucky, as it seems. All right. Okay.
And he was second in receiving yards per game last year in FCS, 108 yards a game, 7th in receiving yards over 1,000, and he had 11 touchdowns. And he had, I think, over 2.5 yards per route run. Maybe it was over 3. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's a big jump. Normally, you see those FCS guys when they move up have the success at the G5 level. That's kind of an underrated transfer move, is getting those FCS stars that move to G5. Much more rare to see it happen when they go to the P4 conferences. So that's a nice little sneaky guy there. All right, Willie.
Yeah, obviously I'm taking wide receiver here.
Yep.
Let's see. We're going to go with Ryan Davis.
Nice.
From Utah.
Okay.
He's averaging, that number can't be right. Okay, 14 points a game. He's 3% rostered. Had 12 targets against Wyoming, had 10 for 91, still didn't get in the end zone. I just like the targets and the production that we see from him. They're going against Texas Tech this week, who is Fantrax standards is 63rd, but they are 49th. They've given up four receiving touchdowns. Probably really haven't been tested through the air, but I imagine Utah is going to get after them.
He's got the good chemistry with Devin Dampier. They both played together at was it New Mexico last year?
Okay, that's a good note. Yeah,
and both transferred together here to Utah
with their offensive coordinator. All right, good. Okay. All right, another little. There's an old classic Willie B pickup at 3% rostered.
There you go.
All right. Well, okay. Let's see if I can box Jake out here and go ahead and
send me to the drawing board.
Yeah. Go ahead and get my tight end. Again, since we'd like to talk about some guys that were left off. The guy I'm not going to take is another Utah guy at tight end, Dallin Bentley, who was my consideration here for that spot.
He was third on my list.
Okay, so he's averaging 11.4 for Utah. Took a little bit of a dip this past week with 8.6, but it had double-digit numbers the first 2 weeks. I'm going to go with who I think is maybe a little bit more reliable going against Clemson. It's Dan Villari from Syracuse. He's still eligible. Might as well take the another guy that we, as Ben said, is a little bit of a cheat because he was on here last week. But as long as he's under 30%, it's still legal, and he should still be available if he's only rostered in 26% of leagues. So why not grab Dan Villari, get a little bit of guaranteed money, even though he's still playing a Clemson team. That Clemson team is 98th against points allowed to tight ends in fantasy football. So,
can you trust the fantasy tight end points metric?
Not really. We've started to lean more on just kind of yards allowed and that sort of thing lately. Which Clemson's still 94th in yards allowed, amazingly, with 227 a game that
Crazy.
they're giving up. So there's room for him to thrive there in this matchup. And plus, I like anybody going against Clemson. So it'll give me
I'm
somebody.
there with you on that one.
Yeah. Ben, what about you? You're a Clemson guy?
No,
Okay,
not
good.
really. Especially this year, man. Like I don't know what has been going on with Clemson, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, a lot of people would say he's just not keeping up with the NIL times. A little more time, we will know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a funny comment the other day from Jared, like basically saying like Garrett Riley is going to be as cooked as his brother's brisket was. So
Lincoln's brisket, God.
yeah.
Wow.
That was a very dry looking brisket, I remember.
But
Wow.
All right. Well, Ben, well, hey, we passed it over to you for that comment on Clemson. So let's see who you're going to take here at either running back or quarterback. As we know, you don't have to take that quarterback just yet. You can give us both if you want here, even.
Yeah,
let's
you
We got our
actually could.
quarterback. Yeah. Because we know you got that quarterback queued up anyway. So you can take your running back and still let us know who that quarterback was going to be.
Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the guy at running back. Probably has been with Qua Ashley for Ball State. He has been very much overlooked over the first 2 weeks because Ball State got shut out against Auburn, against Purdue, and then they also got basically like shut out against Auburn as well. And then all of a sudden they play a FCS team this past week, and he goes for 154 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, and he also had like 2 catches, 33 yards receiving, and a touchdown receiving.
Yep.
So he's a 3% 3% rostered. And I just feel like with Maction coming up, and they're playing at UConn this upcoming week, I feel like he's going to be like pretty good going forward. The only guy he's really competing for carries with is his quarterback. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be
but double digit carries all 3 weeks is a good sign. Again, he's getting his momentum going after a tough start. A lot of those MAC teams, get scheduled against Big Ten teams, and even in this case, they had an SEC team with Auburn. So I like the logic. We all know that for the MAC, it is a tale of 2 different seasons. There's the non-conference games where they get crushed quite a bit, but then once action starts and they're playing each other, it's a whole different ball game. So this is the time to probably snatch up the unacquired MAC players that have been off the radar, and so that's a good one. That's a good heads up on him. He was there on my radar, so I know.
And back to and adding to that, as far as the future, like Ben was saying, he only has one other team that's going to be NIU. Other than that, no other defense is ranked higher than 80th against the run for running backs going forward for the rest of the season for Ball State.
Right.
Sick.
And again, some of that is that these MAC teams all had those tough matchups in the non-conference, but
That's
they're
true.
playing they're playing equal talent now, which always kind of sets up your best fantasy matchups. You don't want someone too easy. You really want an equal opponent, in my opinion. As far as the best matchups.
Well, I mean, and then like I said, Ball State didn't have that great success against Purdue and Auburn, but he still put up his numbers.
Yeah.
So, once they get into this action, oh man, the sky's the limit where he can go. I mean, he may end up getting toward the 20 range, to be honest.
Let me see if he's taken in the 60 team league just for fun here. Let me check my roster. You're in the 60 teamer, Ben, this year?
I'm not. I looked into it, but it ended up being entry fee ended up being too much for me when I was already committed to so many other leagues.
Yeah, that's a little higher on the dollars to get in, but yeah, I see you do have him in the burning the red shirt dynasty league though. Okay,
I
nice.
do. I do. Okay. I actually picked him up this past week after
Okay,
waivers ran and played
yeah.
him. Kind of
Oh
almost
wow,
out of
nice.
a desperation move, but I played
Yeah,
him and got like
you
he ended up
benefited.
helping me out a ton.
All
Wow.
right. So see, therein lies the reason we had Ben on today. He's the kind of guy that's out there actively trying to make his roster better every single week and going deep into the analysis to find guys like Quay Ashley even before he was 6% roster or whatever he is at this point. So
Actually, 3.
yeah, so he's probably 0 or 1% roster going into this week.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, it's up to you. Do you want to take your quarterback now, or you want to wait, and take a little more
I,
time and make sure?
I can take my quarterback
Yeah,
now.
throw out your quarterback. Let's see who you got
So
here.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Taquan Roberson for
Yep.
Buffalo.
Okay.
He's 3% rostered. He seems to have been like basically like last year,
Yep.
the quarterback for Buffalo. He seems to be like I'm forgetting the name of who it was. He seems to be like basically like picked up right where Buffalo left off last year with their quarterback, and he's definitely a dual threat. He's been able to like throw the ball and run the ball a ton. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, he
and
get
I know who. Yeah, it was the. I forget his name too. You remember his name, Willie?
CJ Agbana.
There you
yeah,
go, Agbana.
that's who.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
And this is around the time we started seeing him on our waiver watch
Mhm.
draft last year. C.J. Agbana. He wasn't drafted in many leagues and kind of proved himself and was starting for most teams that he was on in fantasy last year by midseason.
I think athletically, Roberson's a notch above where Agbana was.
Yeah, I didn't know this history. I guess Penn State, UConn, and Kansas State were his previous stopping points. Now he's at Buffalo.
Mhm.
But yeah, it seems like the switch has gone off on him. He's had back-to-back 30-point games after starting with 9 against Minnesota. What you like to see is his most recent 30-point game was against Kent State, which is exactly what we just talked about with those MAC matchups. This is the level he's going to be playing against for the rest of the season. So
Well, I like the fact that he got to open it up. I mean, he doubled his production as far as passing.
right,
Yeah, he
right.
was able to throw 40 attempts in this
It's
past game. Like,
70%
70%
only
completion
had
percentage
3
too.
catches.
Yep. And he's going to get 10 carries a game, it looks like, for about 70 yards.
Yep.
So
yeah,
there you go. All right, nice.
If you
Good
could
finish.
start funneling the targets to Victor Snow, I would be much happier.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Victor Snow's been a little inconsistent. He was on my receiver list as the last option this week, Victor Snow.
He's had a touchdown every week, but that's about it.
Right. Yep. And nobody. Well, Willie's got room for a receiver. Maybe Willie will take Victor Snow to go along with that. But
I doubt.
Jake, who is this magic tight end?
All right, this magic guy. Well, to be honest, I thought that I forgot that we'd moved the threshold up from 25%. So I would have definitely taken Valari probably a few rounds ago.
Okay.
But tight end, I'm going to go someone who is small in name, but I'm hoping that his output will be Goliath level this weekend. Mason Minnie, the tight end for Cal.
Okay.
JKS has been blowing up and having himself a season so far. Minnie had a nice touchdown last night. He's got 2 touchdowns so far on the season, averaging 5 targets a game. I like him to score and at least get me my 10 fantasy points for the tight end.
Okay. Nice.
Mason Minnie.
There you go. All right. I like it. Yeah, Cal. Last night they played. They had a good.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice surprise.
JKS is a lot of fun to watch. It was a pretty good game. JKS had a ton of good throws, and he's for an 18-year-old kid, the way he navigates the pocket, all of it is quite impressive. He's got sidearm throw, the full arm motion throws. It's awesome. I'm really hyped about him and his future and any kind of satellite pieces around him. I'm happy to pick up another one being De Jesus. If you're in a return yard league, he's even even better because he's been their primary returner so far. So he's about the only player who's averaging 7 targets a game and the primary returner on their team.
Yeah, and speaking of DeJesus, yeah, I'm happy he finally showed up in the 60-team league that I was just talking about. I have DeJesus in that deep 60-team league that Thor runs, and and he's finally showed up and gave me 18 points yesterday, including a rushing touchdown, or at least I thought he had a rushing touchdown. But I'm looking now. Maybe he's got a. Maybe there's. Oh, okay. Maybe they counted. Maybe it was a forward pass there from the backfield. They're counting it as a receiving touchdown. But okay, DeJesus got the touchdown I needed last week in the 60-team league. But he's 4% rostered, so that's a deep reach there. He seems to be coming along for Cal as well, and that's all powered by the quarterback that you were talking about, Jake. I think his improved play is making everybody else around him a little bit better right now. So, all right, Willie, what do you got for the last pick?
This guy, not a whole lot of targets,
Okay.
but he does find the end zone.
Okay.
And so, since we do have Ben here,
Yeah, I know where you're going.
we're going to go Kobe Prentice.
Okay.
He's 11% roster. Like I say, he's averaging 5 targets, about 3.5 receptions, but he already has 4 touchdowns on the season.
Okay.
They get Arizona State. Fantrack standards 97th.
Mm-hmm.
Need to go check and see. Jeremy, you have that pulled up? Nope.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I went into the logo.
Yeah,
sheet.
so they're 99th in the country. They've given up 5 receiving touchdowns, 235 yards through the air. Baylor should have a day, and keep that ball rolling. Baylor's going to score at least 40 against them, so Prentice should be a part of that.
Yeah, well, another case of guy. Maybe I picked the wrong one last week for Duke and for Baylor because I took Ashton Hawkins. Maybe you guys are right here picking Prentice and Barcati from Duke. We'll see if those are the guys to get you right on track after I got everybody off track with the guys I thought would be the guys for those teams. Ben, do you have any thoughts on Prentice versus Ashton Hawkins if somebody's having to choose? Since you're the Baylor expert, the resident Baylor guy.
Well, I mean, Kobe Prentice is like complete touchdown merchant right now for the team. I mean, sometimes he only gets one catch, but like that one catch is like a 30 or 40 yard touchdown down the field. I mean,
right.
I think last week, the week before, why Ashton Hawkins did so much was because Trigg ended up getting hurt in that game, and we kind of just did those like shorter, like smaller passes that Sawyer can get out really easy to Ashton Hawkins when Trigg unfortunately didn't come back into the game.
Right. Okay.
So
all right.
I would say if you just need somebody to get a touchdown for you, get like around 10 points, 12 points, like somewhere around there. Especially in deeper leagues, I would definitely go after like Kobe Prentice.
All right. So, there you go. You go to the games? You watch the games live, or you prefer to be at home? Yeah. Okay.
I did. I'm a little sunburned from the game yesterday, but yeah.
Good. Yeah, it makes it a little tougher to keep up with the fantasy stuff when you have to go watch a live game. Like as much as I like watching live, I'm always torn. Like, do I want to sit at home and watch 18 games, or do I want to go watch my one live game? All right. Well, I'll wrap this thing up as far as the picks with my last running back. I'm choosing between a guy I like still with Dom Richardson over at Tulsa, but I don't want to double up on Tulsa players. Otherwise, I would have taken Dom Richardson going against equally bad Oklahoma State rushing defense as they are on passing. He's averaging 16.5. He dipped down to 13 this week, but I think there's still room for Richardson to excel. But I am going to go with Star Thomas instead from Tennessee. He's the hot hand. He's going against UAB, and I know there was a lot of good things said about him. It's been a little tough to determine who the key running back's going to be for Tennessee, but I like what I saw. Watching that game watching Tennessee a little closer than I had all year, with the potential there of Star Thomas, and I like the matchup he's got. They can bounce back and take out some of their frustration against UAB. He did only have 6 points yesterday, but he had 25 the week before, 17 the week before that. So I think he sees the end zone again, and he rebounds along with the team.
Yeah, for sure. 60 yards against Georgia's, nothing to sneeze at. So,
Yep.
He should at least, have it 90. So
I would hope that's what I'm banking on here. So there we have it, guys. Let's go around the block here one time. Jake, you want to kick us off with anybody that maybe wasn't drafted that you would have still taken if we had a few more rounds to go?
Yeah, so one that I didn't pick because he was not in my cupcake matchup kind of mantra that I'm going with is E.J. Mason for Charlotte.
Okay.
He had they were against Monmouth, I think it was last week, but he had 220 yards and on 10 targets and 2 touchdowns, and then the week before he also had 7 targets. So it looks like the beginning of a trend here, and he looks pretty productive. And then someone who's not playing this week, so it wouldn't have helped for the week 4 thing, but if it was just in general for the rest of the season, I would definitely be trying to pick up Jaquan Gibson for UMass. He's been an absolute target hog so far, 40 targets in 3 games. Just absurd.
Okay, nice. Willie, what about you?
Quarterback-wise.
Hold that. We like to save you for the end. You pause. Ben, you go first.
Okay. One guy I'll mention, running back for Georgia Southern, is O.J. Arnold. I mean, he's really looked like, well, the last few games he hasn't really been doing as much, and then all of a sudden this week they just give him, I feel like, the full workload, and
I dropped him in 3 leagues, and he does this to me.
Yep. Yeah, 26.3 points this week. He had under 6 in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. He got the full workload, 16 carries, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Maybe they were saving him for Sunbelt play. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. And then one other player I got to mention for wide receiver, he won't help you this week because he's on a bye. But for Raphael Williams for Pitt, he's only 4% owned. But he seems to almost have emerged as the alpha for the Pitt wide receiver room. I mean, he's gotten about 9 targets their last 2 games, each game. I mean, and looking forward, the only defense you're really worried about in that ACC schedule, coming up, is at Florida State in week 7. But other than that, I feel like it's pretty much wheels up for him. I mean,
He passed the eye test too. I was watching, I think it was week 1 for Kenny Johnson, and Williams was the one jumping by far off the screen and catching people who I was watching were like, dude, who's this guy?
Yep.
And he's special.
Yeah, that's nice. And again, I mentioned how some of these guys just become numbers for us because we don't get to see every single one. So it's always good when you can kind of get a second, checkpoint there when you actually see them play and can really see why they're producing the numbers that they're producing. So
yeah, it was funny because it was week 1, and I was like, no, this guy's a bum. It's all about Kenny Johnson, and then here we are 3 weeks later, and it's totally totally switched already.
This looks like a big bye week, by the way. It's interesting you mentioned that, Ben, because there were a few guys that I started to put in my notes because they're stats, and then I'd look and be like, oh man, they're on a bye. So I'll go through a few of those because these guys all seem to be under 30. So not for this week, but guys to pick up for the long haul. Turbo Richards still under 30 for Boston College. He's on a bye. Seth McGowan, who Willie B had this week and was his big producer, is on a bye for Kentucky, but under 30. Jaden Barnes really is the main one here from this group, the wide receiver, the key wide receiver there at App State, averaging 25.2 points a game, another bye guy. And even the tight end at App State, averaging 11.1 with no TDs, one of those no TD, double-digit average tight ends. Isaiah Cummings is another App State guy. So it seems like, again, A.J. Swan, my quarterback from last week, took the fall with his points per game. but everybody else around him is producing like crazy. So even though they had a bad game, those App State guys are going to be producing fantasy points for you. I'll leave it with that. KJ Duff from RU Rutgers. We talked about that Rutgers wide receiver core actually being sustainable for college fantasy football. Finally, he's going to be your high floor, low ceiling guy. He's going to get his 17 or 18 points a game. He's going to get 8 or 9 targets no matter what. I didn't pick him this week because they're playing Iowa. But again, KJ Duff, if you need a guy who is just going to get you some catches, might not necessarily hit the end zone, but we'll get 7 or 8 catches a game because Rutgers is looking for him. Willie, we'll leave it with you for your final guys and the final sign off.
So I'm going to stick with this week since that's what we're doing this for. As our guy Jared says, guys coming off the bye. We got a tight end, Deshaun Hanukkah from Kansas.
Okay.
Didn't get taken, but he is 2% rostered.
Yep.
Quarterback wise, Bishop Davenport from South Alabama.
Is he still under 30?
He's at 11.
Wow, amazing!
Really?
Wow. We're all double.
Yeah.
We're out here clicking.
Yeah,
now.
everybody's double checking. Yeah, he's 11% rostered, by the way,
That
gentlemen.
is amazing.
So they get Coastal this week.
Yep.
I also like Jalen Rayner.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I was even thinking about taking Retzloff. I like what happened. I know they have Ole Miss, but that's just another guy. Running back wise, Sutton Smith and Harrison Whaley. I almost took. He's 14% rostered, and they play Stanford.
Yeah, I'm just going to warn people of that Virginia running back room. They had 3. Now it looks like we've got a 4th guy in the mix. So
yeah,
still, I don't know about that one, but I rarely doubt you. But Whaley, I love Whaley. He was one of the first guys that ever followed us when we had the original Instagram fantasy football account, and we still run that too, by the way. Don't just catch us on Twitter, catch us on Instagram at College Fantasy Football. But Whaley was one of our first guys that actually responded to some of our posts because we were hyping him up as a freshman there at Wyoming,
and then
or wherever he was even before Wyoming.
And then two more receiver names. We know Omar Cooper. We'll just have to figure out if that was a one fluke situation or what it was. But he jumped off the page with his 10 catches for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And Dorian had just cut him in a couple of leagues, it sounds like. So.
Oh wow.
My son. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State, 25% rostered. They get NIU.
All right.
Big receiver there. So that's all I have. Guys, thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming and doing this with us. We really appreciate it. Happy that you guys are helping the CFF world grow. So J Mill, appreciate you as always. And thank you guys for watching and listening, and good luck this week.